What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and today we're going to be comparing two different handguns, and this was actually a viewer requested video. If you didn't know, if you drop a request down below, I will do my best to get to it. I don't see them all, I don't always respond, but if I do respond and see it, I will do my best. Today we're going to be comparing the SDVE 9.2.0 to the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 Subcompact, and I'm going to tell you why. He has an SDVE 9 1.0, and he's had a great experience with it, right? No problems, no issues. It's just tend to run for him, right? But it seems like he wants to stay in brand. And if you have a good experience with one brand, a lot of times that gives you trust, confidence with sticking with them. So it sounds like he wants to go with Smith & Wesson. That always benefits us as well because it's American made. So smart choice by him to stay with Smith & Wesson. So he was curious if going to the Subcompact by Smith & Wesson, the 2.0, would be a better fit for a smaller handgun. Is he going to like it? Is it reliable? That whole sort of thing. So we're going to get into it. I think these are both great options, but I'm going to tell you the honest truth at the end. Let's get into it. But before we get started, hit the like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe. Now, the original Glock clone is the 1.0, and they did have it in 40 and 9. Obviously, 40 was a big choice of people back then. They loved it, but nowadays I doubt they'll ever release the 40 version of this. Maybe they already have, I don't know. But I doubt they will because no one buys 40 anymore. But as you can see, when I walked into the firearm store, I was looking for a specific firearm before my trip, and I was really going to make some awesome testing videos with it. Then when I got there, they told me it was sold out. They also told me that the person who bought the original handgun that I was looking for brought it back a week later, based off warranty, with terrible issues with it. So I dodged a bullet and went with this. And one thing I noticed is when I walked in, this is one of the handguns you definitely see. You see a bunch of black striker-fired handguns, and then you see this nice-looking two-tone. And I'm a big two-tone guy. I just think it looks nice. And a lot of the stainless steel finishes hold up, show less wear, and that's always a good thing. Now, as you can see, the way it looks is a lot different, but I think also the way it functions, as I have shot the SDVE 9 before, the 1.0. Obviously, the serrations are different, and they're really nice, but nothing special, nothing crazy. The finish is really nice as well. One area I'm really bothered by that they went with, and also I paid $2.99 for this. The sights. It's really weird. They gave you this polymer rear sight. Who knows how it'll hold up, but it looks like trash, right? And then they gave you like a metal front sight. It's really weird. I'm not sure why you would go backwards, considering all the complaints Glock gets and how Taurus can sell $230, $240 handguns with metal sights. It blows my mind nowadays, but doesn't matter. Sorry, my daughter is trying to fall asleep right now and is teething. Anyways, let's continue. It has a rail that's actually pretty solid, but every single compact should have a rail. It just is what it is. Some subcompacts you can get away with not having a rail, single stacks, micro 9s, that whole sort of thing, but every compact and full size automatically must come with a rail, so nothing special here. Next up, memory pads. They aren't the greatest. The texturing on this handgun we're going to get into, but they work and they're there. A lot of companies are being lazy and cheap, I don't know what it is, and don't even throw them on their pistols, right? Next up, the texturing. Even though it does feel good in the hand, like it's grippy, it feels cheap. Just like the overall frame, it feels cheap. And that's exactly what it is. It's a cheaper budget handgun. They have to cut corners somewhere, right? So overall texture feels good, but it's cheap. Overall ergonomics, it feels fine. Most compacts feel really good in the hand. This feels pretty good in the hand as well. Now this one right here is going to be a 16+1 setup. And immediately what you notice is the magazine is 100% cheaper. It just is. The sound of it, the feel of it, the overall quality. But not a big deal because it's ran so far. I have 350 rounds through it, not a single issue. And it's a tack driver, which we're going to get into. And another thing I noticed about this handgun is that slide stop works really well. Now I slingshot all my pistols, but I know a lot of people go easy, it releases well, and that thing just a really nice setup. Everything functions. The slide racks, now there is a little bit of slide drag. It's not terrible, but it is there and it is noticeable. Now obviously these magazines are not compatible with the Subcompact, where there's a lot of magazine options for this handgun right here. So I believe your only option right now is probably this 16+1, but 17 rounds, that's just fine. Now budget firearms, I have a bunch of them. I like budget firearms, especially nowadays with all the budget options that just run. That's what they do. They run. Now, what would I use something like this for? Well, working on a vehicle in the garage, right? Keep one in the toolbox. Keep one in a backpack I go hiking with as a backup. a truck gun, a work van gun, that whole sort of thing, right? Something you don't mind getting a little bit more beat up, scratched up, stuff like that. But it's not going to hurt, right? That's why I carry a Smith & Wesson M&P 357 SIG shield in my pocket at work. It gets destroyed. Just like my FN 503, that's like a $510 gun. It got destroyed over the course of a couple years. So spending $300 on a reliable platform or whatever that I spent on my shield actually is pretty nice because I can beat it up. I know it's going to get dented. It's going to get dirty, dinged up, scratched up. But it doesn't hurt as much because I know I can just go out and get another one in a couple years and do the same thing over. So budget firearms definitely have their place. On top of that, the way things are right now, things are expensive. Living a life and providing for your family is very expensive, regardless of where you work, regardless of how much you make. It just is what it is. So budget handguns that run are a great thing. Now let's get into that trigger, right? I do like this handgun. Like I said, it does feel cheap. The trigger is sort of deceiving because it looks like the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield Plus trigger, which is absolutely amazing. It also looks like the M&P Compact trigger, which is also a flat-faced, really nice trigger. Well, it is not the same trigger. The look of it's the same, but the overall pull is not. You hit a wall, you got a little bit of mush, then it breaks. Is it a bad trigger? Of course not. This thing is honestly a tack driver, right? And what I mean by tack driver, we'll get into it, but you got a little bit of mush. It's actually a pretty decent trigger during live fire, though. It's long, but it really springs back. It really assists that finger in coming back. First trigger pull, like I said, not terrible. Now, what is a tack driver? Well, after getting out of the box, I didn't do a cleaning fresh from the store. I didn't oil it up, didn't lubricate it, didn't get any practice shots. My first mag was an absolute tack driver for never shooting this trigger and the little bit of grit that it has. So it was absolutely a pretty good experience. And so far, we haven't had a single issue or malfunction. But like I said, it's a cheaper handgun. So be very careful of your handgun's parts and, really take care of a budget handgun in order to get the most use out of it. And if you carry it, you need to be on point with it. Next up, two different worlds of handguns right here. I'm just being honest with you guys. Just two different worlds, right? And that one's about $300. This I got for a little over $400, I think. Around $400. It did have the manual safety on it, which they do have a program for getting it plugged. So I might be doing that. I believe they send it to you for free to get rid of this hideous, massive safety. And they do make them without the safety. I got it for about $40, $50 cheaper with the safety and then just plan on plugging it. Now, like I said, two different handguns. This one feels, like I said, like a budget handgun. This one doesn't. This one feels like a beast, a defensive pistol. A pistol to defend yourself and fight with. That's what this thing feels like. This thing feels like an absolute tank. And a lot of people see a smaller handgun and they call you, I get it all the time for carrying the small handguns. They say you're a girl, that's lame. Actually, smaller handguns are more of an art to shoot than larger handguns. You have to be more talented in recoil control, shooting faster, and just handling the overall, handgun that's smaller with the same caliber. This handgun right here, zero issues with that. This thing shoots like a full size, and it definitely handles recoil better than this right here. And I feel like that's what the overall material, time, effort, and machining they put into this handgun. It's just a different handgun, right? Forward serrations don't really exist, but really, who cares? You don't need forward serrations. Yes, they're nice. You might as well just put them on handguns, but I don't use them. I'm just being real. I don't use them. Rear serrations are great. They have that last serration sticking out just a little bit more like they do on a lot of the handguns just to get a great grip if you're slipping, which you will not slip with like the fish gills or whatever they call that. Metal sights, not bad. Overall, the finish is great on this handgun. I cannot complain at all. It's classic Smith & Wesson, which tends to show wear, but it doesn't get to a point where you have rust or issues like that. Overall, really nice. The number one thing that tends to wear finish-wise on these handguns is the barrel from Smith & Wesson. I have a lot of Smith & Wessons, and they all have a worn barrel for what the round count actually is. Takes down real easy, as we know. This one does come with a rail, so if you're looking for a subcompact and the Glock 26 doesn't fit your needs because it doesn't have a rail, this is an awesome way to go. Texturing is perfect. I couldn't ask for any better texturing. On my Glock 26s, I have to put grip tape on all of them, literally all of them, or I can't stand it. This is just perfect right out of the box. Now, as you can see, look at the overall quality. You see that? It's just a worse stippling job. They didn't care as much. This is more precision. And overall, look at the plastics. You can even tell in the polymers that they're two different qualities. It just is what it is, right? That's how you make a budget firearm. It's got to be a little bit cheaper. Now this one, like I said, manual safety, we will be plugging that, but everything on this handgun functions. More stiff than that compact, but it's also a smaller handgun, so that helps prevent messing with it and stuff like that. But also launches that mag, really launches that mag with effort, with force, and this truly does rack really nice. I mean, this is one of the smoothest. It's just like my M&P 40C, which is this version in 40. It was still called the compact when it was the 1.0. It's just smooth, very smooth. With this setup right here, 12+1, or you can get it with the flush base plate, which is also 12+1. So look how small this is. This is a great handgun size, 13 rounds, but the biggest thing, shootability. A lot of people want to talk about the Hellcat, P365, Shield Plus, stuff like that, but none of those shoot better than this. And that's simply because of the overall weight on that slide. Yes, it's going to have a little bit muzzle flip, more muzzle flip than the small handguns, but overall felt recoil is so much less. Just like my M&P 40C, which like I said is this in 40, they handle recoil like champions, and that's because that big, heavy, thick slide, and also that really well-made guide rod and spring assembly. Now this handgun feels good in the hand, shoots well. It's just what you expect when it comes down to quality from Smith & Wesson. They also give you a lot that comes with it, right? There's 4 back straps they give you, and I found the perfect one right here. Chances are you will be able to find the perfect one out of those 4. On top of that, this takes 24 round mags, or whatever it is, 23 round mags that I have, and in the box they send you the sleeves for the larger mags, so you can run all those without it looking ridiculous. You actually have a filler that fills the gap on all the larger mags, and that comes all in the box. That would be like the Glock 26 coming with an X grip for the Glock 19 or the Glock 17, or the Glock 29 coming with an X grip for the Glock 20. They just don't, but in this case they do. So that's a genius choice by Smith & Wesson. Now they do have the updated 2.0, which has the longer grip. I like this better though, because that's the point of a subcompact. A subcompact, the point is you get good capacity in a very small package with awesome shootability, but you also have the ability to, when you get home or for home defense or whatever, to throw a larger magazine in it. You have magazine options. With a compact, you can never change its size except for being bigger. With this right here, you can be as small as this right here, that flush mag, all the way to large capacity magazines, right? So absolutely love subcompacts. I think they're one of the greatest sizes of handguns. They're right in the middle. They are fighting handguns, defensive handguns. Let's get into that trigger, which I actually have zero problem with that hinge trigger. I mean, it's fast and it's light. I mean, it really is. Resets nice. And your finger just sits right in there really well. Like, even if you're down here, it ends up sliding up into that trigger. Same with up. So you can never really get in the wrong spot for this trigger, which in some pistols you can. I actually like the trigger on it, and I actually love this handgun. So if you want the honest truth, spend the extra $100 to $150. Spend it. It is so worth it. Chances are this will outlast this. This will have less malfunctions than this. And this is just a better overall handgun. It is what it is. Nothing against the SD series. For what it is, for the money, it is a great handgun. But it just doesn't compare to the subcompact version. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.